So how do you find out if a school is generous, or how do you find out if a school gives merit scholarships? Okay. A great resource is the College Board. Okay. You can type in the name of any school, and then when you get to it, you'll see these links, and you'll want to click on Paying, P-A-Y-I-N-G. Okay. And when you do that, you'll see this. And I'm using Pomona because it's an example of a school that's very generous. You can see the arrow at the top. It meets 100% of need. Almost all of it in grants. They actually don't put loans in their packages, so that little blue part is just work study. And then you can see of the kids who had need, 69% of kids applied. Of those, 78% had need, and all of them were offered aid. And this is the line that's important. How many had their full need met? 100%. So this is an excellent school if you need financial aid. The average award, need-based aid, is $38,475, but if you're not going to get financial aid and you don't want to pay full price, this is not the school for you, because you can see I circled what is their average non-need-based aid. That means merit scholarships to high-income students. They don't get any, right, because they're one of the top liberal arts colleges in the country, so they don't have to give merit scholarships. Okay. Now, let's contrast that with Santa Clara, where 63% of their need is met. A much bigger chunk is loans and jobs, and only 15% got their full need met, hardly anybody. And the kids that did were probably kids that didn't have much need to begin with. And then the average grant is about $18,000, which is nothing when you consider this school $60,000. And the average merit scholarship is almost $8,200, which actually their average awards and their average merit scholarships have been dropping in recent years because they're so popular. Santa Clara is like 5 and 10 minutes from Google and Apple. So they can continue to be stingier and stingier because they're hot. Okay. Now, another source you can use to evaluate if a school is going to be generous or not to your child is collegedata.com, okay, which is actually based up in San Francisco. It's overseen by actually a friend of mine who used to be a UC administrator, and it's a good little site. And you can get some of the same information that you would get at the College Board, but one of the things that you can, I'm just using University of Richmond because this is a school that gives like really generous merit scholarships to students. They give full rides and half rides. So you can see down here, you can look at the merit-based gift, that's merit scholarships. They give 7.2% of the freshmen who have no need get these scholarships, and the average is almost $37,000. That's because the awards are so big. But what I like about College Data is, you know, on the College Board, it would say what the average merit scholarship is, but it doesn't tell you how many kids get it. But if you go to this site, you can see what are my kids' chances of actually getting one of these awards, you know, or is it like Stanford where one kid gets it? Okay. So what I want to tell you now is, how do you know if you're going to get financial aid or not? You know, when I've given talks, I gave a talk once at a friend's house. There was a bunch of women from Mission Hills, and one of the women was a Superior Court judge, kind of blurted out, "How rich is too rich to get aid? Because I don't feel rich." And I said, well, the best way to find out is to use your expected family contribution calculator, EFC calculator. Everybody can go, if you're wondering, you can go and use this calculator. It's on the College Board. And what you're going to need to fill it out is your latest tax return and your investment statements. But you don't need to use your retirement accounts because nobody cares. That's a nice thing about financial aid. You could have millions of dollars in retirement accounts and it's not going to hurt chances for financial aid. Okay. So when I used the College Board calculator, and I just pretended I had adjusted gross income of $150,000 and $125,000 in non-retirement assets. And retirement account, I put $1 million, but it could be anything because, as I said, it's irrelevant if you've got any retirement money or not. And then home equity of $200,000. Okay. So when I looked at that, I got 2 EFCs because if you use a calculator, I would suggest you say you want both formulas. One is the federal formula. With all schools in the country use the federal formula for some aid. It's linked to the FAFSA, which is the big federal financial aid application. And then the institutional formula is used by about 250, almost all entirely private schools, though the University of Arizona does use it. And they're just more picky. They're a little nosier about the questions. Okay? So you can actually get 2 EFCs. So you see here that this family EFC for the feds was almost $38,000 and over $40,000 for the institutions. So if you see that kind of higher EFC, then you know that you're probably going to be looking for merit scholarship money, right? Though at a place like that meets 100% of need, like one of the Ivies or Stanford, if you had that kind of EFC, you would get need-based aid, okay? Because they have such great aid, all right? And if the school costs $60,000 and your EFC is, $40,000, then you would be in line. You could qualify for $20,000 of financial aid. Okay, so that's why I say you shouldn't assume that you're not going to get any kind of money. But I would say with that kind of EFC, at most schools, you would be looking at merit scholarship money. Okay, and I should mention the EFC can range from 0 if you have no money, all the way up to there's no limit on what your EFC is. I talked to a dad once who lives in Del Mar. He's a corporate executive, and he tried this EFC calculator, and he said his EFC was $108,000, which means he could have spent, on paper, $108,000 for 1 year of his child's college. Well, no school cost that yet, so he wasn't going to have to pay that. But, he was like, there's no way I want to pay full price for a school. So he was going to be looking, his daughter was going to be looking for private schools that would give merit scholarships to her. Now, when you have 2 kids in school, which is a good thing if you're going to get need-based aid, your expected family contribution drops a lot. By the federal formula, almost 50%. And the profile, typically a third. So let's say you have 1 child and you're not getting any need-based aid. Maybe when you have a second child who comes along, you can actually qualify for need-based financial aid. So it's always good to I wish I'd known that when I was having my kids. I would have spaced them closer together. But I did have them in college together for 1 year, and actually I got some need-based aid. I got $7,500 that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise, so that was good. The other thing that you need to know about that's really important is something called the net price calculator. This is a really cool tool that was required by the federal government starting 2 years ago, almost to the day. These calculators, what they do is they will help you provide a personal estimate of what 1 year of school will cost your child, net price. So it's the cost of the school minus any scholarships or grants from any source your child might qualify for. And it's the net price. So what you have to do, and every school has a net price calculator. In fact, they have 2. They have one for potential freshmen, and they have one for potential transfer students. And so to use a net price calculator, you're going to use the same kind of information that you would use for that EFC calculator, the same stuff. Okay. Sometimes colleges bury their net price calculators. You can't find them because sometimes they don't want you to find them. They don't want you to really use them. But, I'm not using Rice as an example at all of that, but that's just what Rice's looks like. It even tells you, which is very convenient, it's going to take you 12 minutes to do this calculator. But you can Google it, find a calculator. And actually, there's a cool new site that I would urge you to use called College Abacus. And when College Abacus is, I guess you could say it's like the Kayak or the Expedia or the Zillow of college pricing, because you can now go to College Abacus and type in, provide all your information once that any calculator could use or need, and you can get the net prices of any schools you want. So it's like one-stop shopping, which is cool. What you need to be careful of are some schools' calculators are pretty lousy. In fact, about half of the country's calculators are bad because they use the federal calculator. Federal calculator is really lame, and it doesn't ask a lot of questions. It doesn't even help you if you're only looking for merit scholarships. Okay, and they're just bad. So if it only takes you like 30 seconds or less to answer it, it's probably a federal calculator. In fact, you could ask them. This school, Hampshire College, uses this. Just this fall when I was using this, they were using 2009-10 cost figures. This is for kids who would be, conceivably looking at school for the 2014-15 year. So look at what prices they're using. Federal calculators are always going to be at least 2 years behind. The other thing that's on the federal calculator, you should look to see if this in other schools, is they just ask for income ranges. Instead of saying, look on this line in your income tax return and what does it say, it says, oh, about how much are you making? And it doesn't even go more than like $100,000. So they can't possibly be accurate. But a lot of private schools, more elite schools, do have very good calculators.